Well, I've decided to do away with this line of poles. And we just have one remaining old power pole standing beside this one, this structure. And we'll leave this structure in as well. And one of the things that I needed to identify what I really liked about this little study, and really much of it was how soft much of it was. Now, I'd like this to be a little stronger. It's going to need to be. It's a larger painting. But to run in here with a knife, I felt would kind of defeat that which I really enjoyed about this painting. So I guess we'll just keep it a little softer and use a brush. And the brush we are using is a number 8 flat. Okay, in this sky, we're going to get going with a little bit of cobalt blue and some, what is that stuff, cad red medium. And a touch of titanium white. And I say a touch because I don't want to go too pale against the horizon. We're going to use those higher values elsewhere. And actually, now that I'm feeling my paint, I think I'd like to employ the use of some linseed oil. So I'll put a little bit of that in my tuna tin. Because I want things to be fairly mixable. Okay. How are we looking here? I think that's pretty good. Sorry about the traffic once again. It is noisy. A noisy day. Okay, now we gotta start being fairly accurate with our lines. Oop, bit of junk there. We'll get rid of that. Trying not to breathe at all. Not going to vary the colors very much. Okay. I want that overhang to show up. I think I'll increase the rake of that roof a little. And we still want that crooked roof line. Immediately identifies it as an older building. I think that's going to work. Okay, a little more of the same. Still staying with cobalt blue, cad red medium. A touch of linseed oil to smooth things off. Oh, that's a bit dark. I might already be a little too gentle. Okay. We'll go a little bit bluer as we work our way out to the left here. Okay. That's pretty well established now. Make that pole a little thinner and not quite so straight. Keeps things more interesting. Okay. Bit more blue again here. A little more cobalt blue. And I don't want this cloud or this opening in the clouds to end right above the top of that pole. So we'll shift it to the left a little bit, shall we? I think that's not a bad plan. Okay, I'm going to put in a little bit of alizarin crimson instead of cad red medium now for my red. For a few strokes, gentle and subtle variety. more. And we'll go back to, or we'll reintroduce a little bit of the CAD red medium and cobalt blue to that. A little more white. Okay, I'm using a big brush, so I may as well make some big strokes as well. Okay, and what else here? I think I'll just... I'm going to contaminate this area with just a hint of it. I'm going to be painting more yellow ochre over top of this. But if the yellow ochre picks up some of this moisture, or some of this color, I think that's going to be a net benefit. Okay, we'll make that fairly solid. A little bit of design there, running off the painting. Okay, now let's go to wiping my palette off my mixing area. And we will start with some fresh colors. We're going to go to yellow ochre. My brush is a bit dirty. That's okay. I'm not concerned about laying super clean colors in right now. A little bit of alizarin crimson and yellow ochre. Touch of white. Yes, we're basically going wet and wet. Basically. Mostly we're going wet adjacent to wet, but you could call it wet and wet. See, my brighter colors will be up there. A little bit higher. A little bit higher. I'm going to add a hint of burnt umber to that mixture as we get to the edge. That serves to tone things down. Maybe just a touch of alizarin crimson as well. A little bit of white in there. pinkifies it. And we can use those same colors as we go up here. Okay, that stays a little bit dirty. That's good. Now we're gonna want to clean it up as we get closer. Go a little higher value. With my brush still contaminated with the previous colors, I'm actually just adding yellow ochre to it now. If I touch it with any cad yellow or cad orange, it's going to be after I've got the entire sky painted, because that's really going to help me to know exactly how high I dare to raise the value and how much of it. Okay, that's a hard edge. Let's soften that edge. There we go. That's better. Jump into our white here again, and our yellow ochre. Doing a little blending. Okay, not too much. And yellow ochre and alizarin crimson. Going a little bit redder off to the right. Doesn't stand out that much because we're on a canvas that's already very red. You know, that burnt sienna comes across as very red. And this sky isn't going to look very red for the moment because it's competing with this. Once this goes green, this will punch. This will stand out a little more. Okay, so that's okay. A little shaky this morning. Okay, I think that's good as a start. Let me actually give my brush a little wipe. And not make it 100% clean, but make it cleaner. Now, yellow ochre. Actually, just a hint of yellow ochre. A bigger hint of cad yellow pale. A little bit of cad red medium. A little bit of white. That's very wet. I may end up letting that dry a little bit. And debris, 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 debris. Okay. Adding value to it as I go, as the painting moves along, we start to bring in our lights a little more. The opposite of watercolor. I think that's a lot of weight right there. Let's take some of the weight out of that cloud. Let's also move in here a little bit. I like that, okay. Maybe. Maybe something to break that up a little bit. Okay. Now let's go back to a bit more of a healthy proportion of cad red medium and cobalt blue and yellow ochre and white. It's a bit dirty, that's okay. Whoops, that's a bit too dirty. And a little bit too much blue in it. that red is too strong, but I would like hints of it here and there. It's still too strong. Yeah. More white. Maybe we'll go back to a little more blue as well. Getting myself into trouble here. I can see it coming. Before you know it, I'll have red everywhere. And then suddenly it'll be too much. What I probably should be doing is just be more patient and allow. And not do it wet and wet here, you know. If I go wet and wet, I really tend to use a round brush. Round brush I find to be a little better for that. But I don't have a good round brush right now, so I wanted to just go ahead and start painting. That's too much. That's too much. Too much red in one area. Okay. Back to the blue and red combination, which is just really more blue than anything. Well, it's not. It's a bit of a combo. Yeah, it's awfully weak, but you know, it does have kind of a nice effect to it as well. So maybe I'm not going to worry too much about it. Maybe it's all right. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave my highlights here. Again, if I had a better round brush, I could lay them in more simply, but with a flat brush, I'll let this tighten up a little bit and then probably jump into it later, which you will see, but not on this video. But what we will do, I think there's no harm in doing that, is we'll get rid of a lot of this intensity. We're just going to darken this. We'll leave some of the underpaint showing here, but let's put a little bit of burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, maybe a touch of white, and we're going to use terps now. I actually accidentally just added a touch of yellow ochre, which I don't intend on using much of until we come down here. I don't want it too green, you know. I don't want this strong green sitting in the foreground. I just want it to lean in the direction of green. Okay, that's okay. And a little bluish green is fine because we're, you know, we have our blues in here. So we have bluish green. That unites sky and foreground a little bit. I don't want them too different. You easily end up with a disparate looking painting. And again, we don't want that. We want unity. Unity. One of the rules or guidelines of design. Guidelines, steps, rules, suggestions. No, they're more than just suggestions, because a lot of these so-called rules, they're proven. They win every time if you use them. You don't have to be too safe with them, but you definitely want to use them. They're great. Let's just stand on the shoulders of the people who came before us and use those fundamentals, because if we don't, all we're doing is reinventing the wheel, and that's just stupid. Okay, I'm going to add a hint of white, seeing as I still have some mix on my palette. I'll add a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow ochre. And we'll, what do we do? Let's indicate that in that. And that. Yeah, it's kind of funny, you know, I tint the whole canvas burnt sienna. And in many cases, as we're pretty much doing now, we'll cover the whole thing with wash-ins of entirely different colors. But I guarantee you one thing. If I had tinted the canvas in, say, raw umber, or cobalt blue and raw umber, you know, made it gone into the grays or something like that. Even if I use the same colors over top of that different colored tint, when the painting is finished, you would definitely see a different painting if you have the two side by side, one tinted with this, the other tinted in, say, gray or some other color, for example. And you were to set the two identical paintings side by side. When the paintings are finished, this will look warmer than the other one because of your undertint. Because oil paint, well, no paint is 100% opaque. It always allows a little bit to come through. And of course, there are places where I have not put a solid layer of paint over top of my tint. So that always helps. And that's why, even if, well, actually, I did this or I tinted it with burnt sienna because I was thinking knife painting, and in a knife painting you get a lot of spots where your tint can show through, or I do with my technique. Some people don't. Some people just go over the whole thing like it's a mud pie and just keep working it and working it and working it, which is fine. I have nothing against that, but that's a whole different technique, and it provides for a whole different look. I'll square off the camera here so you can have a little better view of it. I haven't even backed up yet to have a look and see whether I'm happy with how things are going. But I'd say that in general, it's improving. You know, things like this irregularity coming off the cloud. This and this are right above each other. Those are small things that when I stand back I can see them. as I can see it now. But I don't see them often when I'm painting. Well, I see them often. I don't see things like that when I'm up close. Not worried about it. That's just part of the working. A painting is a development, of course. So, yeah, so far so good. See you soon.